Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports.
The MLS playoffs / the supporter shield. That needs to be fixed. All right. Did you know? Fun fact. Over half the league gets into the playoffs. First of all,
more than half the league.
Yeah, more than half the 18 out of the 29 teams currently make it in the playoffs. Since 2006, the winner for the Supporters Shield gets automatic entry into the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Only 7 of the total 29 Supporters Shield winners have ever gone on to lift the MLS Cup. Wildly terrible numbers.
Inter Miami will not be one of them.
Inter Miami will be far from one of them. They will be one of 3 that have lost in the first round of the MLS playoffs, though.
They can join Red Bulls and that list as
well. And then what's unique about that is there has not been a single Supporters Shield representative that goes on to the CONCACAF Champions Cup that has ever won the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And it's worth noting that Toronto FC did not actually win the Supporters Shield when they ended up winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup either. So I don't get what the point is. I don't get why FIFA and CONCACAF treat this more than what it is. This is a Super Cup. That's what the Supporters Shield is. That's what it should be. That's how it should always be treated. For some reason, CONCACAF and FIFA treat this like it's an automatic bid, like it's the end of the season. You just lifted the trophy and you got walked through the tunnel of ceremony by the opposing team on your last match day. That's what they treat this like. It's not that. This should be a Super Cup played at the beginning of the year like every other league does. And as Hector says, is a joke of a trophy that somehow gets covered on ESPN, and he's made to watch one of the worst matches of his life every single year to kick off the season. So, yeah, I'll never understand the fact of the Supporters Shield. And then with the playoffs as itself, first of all, why is the first game in a wild card game that's a one-off just to go and play the number 1 team? Like, if you take 16 teams, if you're just going to do this, there's no point in taking an extra team just to have them play a one-off 3 days after the end of the season and then kick one of them out. That's dumb.
Honestly, there's no point to having 16 teams, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we could do this with 8 if we're being honest. Should not be split into conferences either. Should just take the best teams in there. And then why is there one round of the 4 actual rounds of playoffs a best of 3 series? Why is it only 1?
Money.
But it doesn't keep aggregate.
Bent over for Apple TV.
It doesn't keep aggregate scored nonetheless. It's for every other soccer fan. Does not matter to me. It's ridiculous. It's annoying. Also, there's a marketing PR conversation to be had that actually spreading the games out over 3 games instead of just a 1 do or die situation loses you more money overall than if you had 3 games total, because more teams or more people would pay more money to watch the game if they knew all I had to do is watch 120 minutes of soccer and then I know an answer, versus I might have to watch 360 minutes of soccer plus penalties, and then I'll know after that point. So,
yeah, I just want to go ahead and apologize to everyone that had to watch that Houston Dynamo Seattle series. Like, it wasn't great. I mean, there was dramatics. I mean, there's, you got Coco throwing hands and Hector Herrera basically ending his career with the Dynamo by spitting at the referee. So, which is very honestly, it was very Hector Herrera-esque. Like, if you're gonna go down in a blaze of fire. Like, I mean, just in a blaze of glory. Like, I mean, if you're gonna, mind you, this is the guy that chokes Weston McKennie pretty often. So, I mean, like, I think, I think Hector Herrera went down the way Hector Herrera should have, and
yeah,
I love him for that, by the way. So,
but no, this whole playoff situation in Supporters Shield is just a joke to me. It doesn't get better. It never has been better. Just, if you're going to do the playoffs, don't give a Supporters Shield out beforehand. And if you're going to do a Supporters Shield, don't have the playoffs, should be the simple answers here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the playoffs just needs to go back to being simpler, man. I think I said it. I even have a clip about how I feel about how the playoff format should be done, and someone told me that I'm a moron. But I mean, go back to the two leg. I think the two leg is fine.
It's simple.
Eight teams is fine. You don't need this many teams to like in the MLS Cup. Like, I mean, I have the same complaint for Liga MX. I think they're doing too much with their playoff as well. And I mean, eight teams I think is a good number, especially with the number of teams that you have now, especially when you're going into 30. Like, it should not be more than half the league should not be in the playoffs. Like, it's supposed to be you had a good season. This is your reward. Is you get a chance to win a trophy. Not you weren't that bad. Like, basically that's the teams that are like, I would say like six down, and that also six down, I would say, that are just like, your season wasn't terrible. No offense, Davi. It's like your season wasn't that bad, but hey, here you go. You have a shot. Which, I mean, I always root for the underdog. I mean, I'm hoping NYCFC can, somehow make it to the MLS Cup final, because I think that's what would be. Well, actually, the funniest thing would be Atlanta United, just because of all the drama that team has transpired. But
there is a slight chance that we get to see an Eastern Conference final take place on a baseball field.
That's what I'm rooting for. At the end of
chaos, I want the chaos.
If only RSL did their job,
how pissed off would Steinbrenner be?
If only RSL did their job, we would have had 2021 MLS Cup final at Yankee Stadium.
Oh yeah,
in which I would have been there. And we would have easily wiped the floor with that RSL team at home. No offense.
How pissed off would Steinbrenner be having to watch like a soccer team win in his own stadium?
Oh, it'd be beautiful. Please let it happen.
Hey, you know what? There's a chance that he might not even see it happen, because we're just gonna keep moving these games to Citi Field as the stadium gets closer and closer.
That index card is just gonna get smaller and smaller for your banner. Oh man. But yeah, no, the playoff system, the playoffs is just, and I mean, when you have a player, and I mean, I know everyone talks about Messi, but when you have Ricky Puig, kind of like, oh, we just beat Colorado. The fuck you mean I have to wait a week and a half to play my next playoff game? You know,
he's waiting 3 weeks. He's waiting 3 weeks to play.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's absurd, honestly. And the fact there's 2 losing record teams in the playoffs this year, it's embarrassing. Like, I don't mean like including ties, including draws. I mean just straight up wins to losses. There are 2 teams with a losing record. That's embarrassing. They should not be in the playoffs.
It also happens in the NFL, not often, but
but for there's at least a valid reason. They won their division. All right, so they're in. Like, what is the rhyme or reason? And I say this knowing full well that I am considering myself a Atlanta United fan. That Atlanta is one of those 2 teams. But why are there 2 teams that are 11-14 in the playoffs that did not win a division, did not even like finish 500 in their own, like, if you want to call it the Southeast Coast Conference of the MLS, like, they didn't even win that. What's the point of them being in the playoffs? Obviously, they did win in the playoffs, but doesn't change the fact that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, playoff format definitely needs a fix. I like I said, I think it should be 2 legs and then all the way to the final. I would say make the final a neutral site. I know some people would probably complain that they would love to have the home field advantage. I get that part, but I think the neutral site, and I mean, MLS used to do this. Like, they used to have the neutral site game. I think it would be hilarious if they had the Supporters Shield winner be the host for the final. Just because of, like, more often than not, they don't normally win they don't make it to the final anyways. So it would be just super hilarious to like have this final in the stadium of like the quote unquote best team that year. So like right now it'd be hilarious if, like, NYCFC plays Minnesota United in Miami. Like, I think that would be like one of the most giant fuck you to Miami fans of and I'm not even talking about Miami fans. I'm not taking shots at y'all. It's the Messi fans. The all of a sudden Inter Miami fans that came out of nowhere. But I would think that would just be the perfect, like, giant fuck you. Besides just watching Atlanta United not only eliminate your team in Miami, but then lift the MLS Cup in Miami. I think that would be just, the irony is just there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I mean, that's what I would go for. Davi, I don't know. What are your thoughts on a potential playoff format?
I like the one and done. It's just simple. I get it. There's not as many games, but the intensity, you feel the intensity throughout the whole 90 minutes, and like the suspense in the 120 as well, like in the extra time and then penalties. It's like that's it. It's like it's not like in the round one this year where it's like game one you go to penalties. Like, all right, you fuck up in penalties this game. That's cool. You have another game to like do it again and like make it a tied series or do better on the penalty shootout next time.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike in the one and done where it's like you have to score your penalties or else your season might be over. One mistake in the back and your season is done. And that's honestly what I like. I mean, that's what makes the playoffs so fun in American sports. It's like one slip up and you're in like the whole work that you put into that season could be for nothing because of that one mistake. And that's what makes sports so fun to watch and so suspenseful. And that's why we keep coming back to them. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they just try to make it like baseball, like a best of three. Like, seriously? Like, why? Just why? It doesn't make any sense. And plus, it's more mileage on the players' legs. Like, these players, they already play a shitload of games the way it is, especially with the stupid fucking Leagues Cup, which I think they should just abolish straight up. That tournament is no good. The only reason that tournament was successful last year is because Messi came in and started cooking right away. We've seen it this year. The attendance was putrid. I mean, seriously, 5,000 people at Gillette Stadium to see NYCFC and New England Revolution play. That's horrible. Like, I'm pretty sure like if you had open practice to Patriots, I'm pretty sure they'd get more people than that.
They
just
do.
Free entry, just come in. You get to meet the players. You get autographs from the coaching staff and whatnot. You'll easily get at least double the amount if the Patriots did that at Gillette Stadium than some stupid Leagues Cup round of 32 match that no one gives a shit about on a Friday night.
Yeah.
They should just get rid of that. I mean, if you want a 2-leg series in the playoffs, okay, I'm cool with that. Just make it no away goals. Just do it how UEFA does it. Take out the away goals. Do a 2-leg. And if you're still if you're tied on aggregate 5-5 after game 2, well, you go to extra time. And if you're still tied, you go to penalties. And just do it what Europe does, or just make it a one and done, like how it was from 2019 to 2022. The simple format, which everybody knows, when and you're in, and it's simple.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's something to be said about when you try to extend series, you lose interest, and especially that middle game. You lose interest in that middle game, not just from fans but from players. It's ridiculous. This also just feels like somebody rolled the dice on like, hey, what can we do to spice up our playoffs? And somebody was like, let's make it best of 3, but for only one round, not all of them. And that's embarrassing.
I mean, I think what it does, at least, I guess the idea was it builds the suspense for potential upsets, which, I mean, when you look at this playoff, like, it definitely did that part. But the problem is just, like, I think what the real issue is that you have to find a way to, like, entice the American fans, which I think that's the reason why MLS does this playoff format. But at the same time, you got to make it make sense to a football fan. Like, why should I take this league seriously? And when they see this best of 3, it looks ridiculous to them. I mean, an American probably is like, okay, I get that concept, but at the same time, they're probably like, this is still kind of weird. But I think to the football fan, this looks stupid. And I mean, I've said it plenty of times, I think this is a dumb format as well. And Davi says it right. I'm also very anti-Leagues Cup. I think it was a cute gimmick to do. I think, at least for me initially, what I was cool with it, because like this is probably way before Davi's time, but there was this tournament called the Superliga, which was like, it was just literally 4 MLS teams, 4 Liga MX teams. You put them together, you play. This was what Leagues Cup was. It was just this little thing, and it was like a cool maybe preseason tournament, kind of like something just to get ready for the season, get you hyped up. And I think there's a lot of flaws with Leagues Cup. It could be better. I think if you were able to stretch it around across the year, play games in Mexico. But essentially, I would I'd rather this just not be a thing. Like, let's just forget this thing ever happened kind of thing.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you want to make Leagues Cup worth it, you got to put you got to get the top teams that like finished, I'd say top 4 or something like that. You know how Europe does it, where like top 4 gets Champions League, 5th and 6th get Europa League, and if you finish 7th, you get the Conference League. You should do it based off merit from the last season. Whoever finishes in what position gets to qualify for this exclusive tournament, and you get the Mexican teams, and you get maybe you get other teams from other regions in there, and you play home and away games. It'll make it a lot more worth it.
And I mean, picking off of what you said, Davi, sorry for interrupting you. Or get on CONCACAF. Like, why aren't you getting on CONCACAF's ass and be like, hey, can you guys fix this stupid CONCACAF Champions Cup, whatever you want to call it, the Champions League, whatever you want to do, just make this better. Like, actually do right by the rest of CONCACAF, because I get it. Your breadwinners are Liga MX and MLS and Toronto FC and whenever those Canadian teams pop up. But, like, do right by the rest of CONCACAF. Like, show more love and appreciation to the Caribbean teams. And, because I think also for those leagues to get better, they need some sort of piece of the pie. Having a sort of CONCACAF Champions, like, use whatever effort you thought Leagues Cup was going to do, put it into this CONCACAF Champions League. Give those small teams a little piece of that Apple TV money. Those guys will love that Apple TV money, by the way. But I mean, like, you could do so much better with it. I think, what Davi was mentioning, which essentially is like making CONCACAF just finally do their job, which is,
good luck with that.
Yeah.
They don't even want to take international breaks off. So, whatever works for them.
Dude, the patches on the shirt can't even last 20 minutes after running on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
Dude, there was a year where they ripped off during the warm up, like as they're taking off their warm up track jackets. I saw the patches start ripping off, and I forget who it was, just ripped it off. Like, I don't need this on my jersey anymore.
Yeah, that was funny, and that's not only on Leagues Cup. It was also like in CONCACAF Champions League that the patch was not.
Yeah. Also, in the Champions League or Champions Cup, whatever the hell it's called, why is it like the one team just hosting a one game? Make it a neutral site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That they need it. CONCACAF needs to do better. I think MLS needs to find a way to get on them. Like all this effort that they're doing with Liga MX, these two have so much resources that they can at least light a fire on CONCACAF. Whereas, like, threaten CONCACAF, like, hey, we might switch to CONMEBOL. We might get spanked every day, but we're willing to do that than playing CONCACAF Champions League because it doesn't really benefit us.
Just threat your own Super League. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened before. Oceania was not a thing in the grand world of affiliated like regions in FIFA, and that became a thing because everybody's like, I'm tired of Australia beating up on us.
Yeah,
Australia ended up dipping and they went to Asia.
Yeah, so they were like, I don't want to be a part of Oceania anymore, so bye. Like New Zealand stayed, and it was pitched between both of them. Australia was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And New Zealand's like, we don't want you here anyways. Bye.
Like, I don't want to go to the World Cup.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you guys said about everything else. I mean, this is just dumb. Take a page out of the FA Cup where you don't include the big squads, so you don't include MLS and Liga MX until you get to like the round of 32. Mm-hmm. And up until that point, it's literally every other pro league have them play home and homes, and then bring in like Davi said, the top 4 of each, and then let them play. But then put it, this is where the FA Cup has it right, where they put a requirement on the roster that you have to have XYZ number of players from that country on that starting 11, and that changes everything because all the Caribbean teams are fine. Liga MX should be relatively fine. MLS, there's going to be a whole 3 or 4 squads there that they're going to be like, crap, what do I do? And this goes back to super drafting and player development. But yeah, it could be a lot more entertaining than just whatever joke that was this year.
Yeah, I think that's a very good one. And this kind of segues it.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, trust me. Also, like these teams from Costa Rica, Honduras, Haiti, wherever country they're from, 300,000 can go a long way for them.